This is the most powerful gaming CPU in the world, i9-14900K, and this is every part of the GTA series of video games. And today, we will find out how much FPS will be in each game on this CPU. If in each next game, I will increase the number of mods, and at the end, when we will reach GTA 5, this processor must suffer.
Are you sure about that?
Let me remind you and show those who don't remember what we have under the hood in addition to the CPU. Overclocked 64 gigabytes of DDR5 memory at a frequency of 6000 MHz. A fairly budget RTX 3090 GPU, since Grand Theft Auto games use a maximum of 16 CPU threads. That's why I turned off the energy-efficient cores through the BIOS, and also slightly increased the frequency of the performance cores by 100 MHz, which is almost the KS version of this CPU in terms of frequency. Let's go back 27 years to 1997 and launch the very first game from Rockstar Games, Grand Theft Auto 1. You can't imagine how long I've been looking for a way to run this game on Windows 11. This game is running on a DOS emulator, and as you can see, our FPS is locked at 23 frames, and I haven't found a way to unlock it, so let's move on to the next game right away. 1999, GTA 2. As you can see, the graphics in this part already look better, and the game already has a certain vibe. System monitoring is not working here for some reason. I only managed to display the FPS indicator in the upper left corner. It shows from 120 to 130 frames per second. With such a high frame rate, even the game itself becomes faster. I just don't have time to drive normally. During mass explosions, the FPS doesn't drop at all. Hey, that dude stole money from me. Did you hear what he said? Damned crook, don't steal. Ooh, I already hate this game. Year 2002, GTA Vice City. You look at these crazy numbers, almost 2,000 FPS, and that's on only 4 threads. At that time, people mostly had single-core, single-thread processors. The bugs are also quite interesting at such a high frame rate. Here are a couple of them. When you die, the camera goes uphill for a very long time and the main character does not respond for a very long time. There's also such a joke, when you get out of the car, the camera switches to the main character for a long time. The same thing happens when we get into the car, or when we make a jump on the jump ramp. And how could you notice that Tommy became so powerful that he moves cars with his body? And if he sits behind the steering wheel of a car, he generally turns into a beast. Here I downloaded some graphics mod, and you can see how much the FPS dropped from such an initiative. Well, quite significantly. I would say minus 200 to 300 frames in the same place. The combat in this game is just some work of art, dude. You can break your neck that way. The minimum I managed to achieve in this game is 130 FPS in the most difficult scene. The picture won't stop shaking, by the way, so I'd better go swimming. The next game was released 2 years later in 2004, and this is the legendary GTA San Andreas.
Here we go again.
The game's very similar to the previous one. Only 4 CPU threads are involved here, but the FPS is somewhat lower. The maximum I saw was 900 frames near the sea. As you can see, with such a frame rate, SJ is not inferior to Tommy in terms of power. I would even say that he surpasses him in some places. By the way, as you understood, these games are also very similar. Here too, the fight camera is glitchy. As for the minimum FPS in this game, this time I downloaded some kind of trainer to spawn all kinds of junk. And I spammed a whole bunch of cars and motorcycles. I spammed until I noticed that the vehicles began to insidiously disappear from my eyes. First, I spawned a small amount of junk and just blew it up. The FPS did not drop much. It was only about 150 frames less. Then I spawned a lot more traffic and the FPS already decreased just from its presence on the screen. As you can see on the clock, it's only 7 in the morning. People haven't even gotten out of bed yet. I'm already bombed Donbass.
Donbass.
I also managed to shoot down a helicopter on the way. In short, 113 FPS was the least of it all. The next game is GTA 4, which was released in 2008. This game uses as many as 8 threads, and if we play without mods and without a GPU bottleneck, we can get from 120 to almost 500 frames per second. Of course, the game becomes faster from such a high FPS, which is strange because in the previous parts, except for the second, there was no such thing. And my god, what cool physics in driving a car in this game. Just like in some car simulator. So, let's start small. Here, I installed a mod for a larger number of vehicles and pedestrians, and FPS did not drop much, only 15 to 20 FPS compared to stock. Of course, it's already a lot more fun to play, especially when Nico can easily outrun Usain Bolt and any car in this game, and it's even more fun when Nico turns into a death machine.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's Nico Bellic.
Guess the riddle and solve the question.
What joke did I want to insert here? There's nothing more dangerous in this game than this man armed with an RPG and with the ability to fly. Now, let's slightly increase the speed of transport in this game. I love this game more and more every second. This dude is kinda too calm, don't you think so? No matter where you hide, cars will find you. FPS somehow does not sag much from such jokes. i9 even asks for additional load. Wait, I'll get behind the wheel of the bus. Ooh, that's a completely different matter. The lowest was 53 FPS, but it's still playable. Uncle, where did you fly? I call it the migration of cars. Cars simply migrate to warm regions to spend the winter. I can even compete with them in speed, but as you can see, they are a little faster. You can see how the flow of cars in this game is scripted. For this reason, the FPS does not drop much. And now, let's increase the speed of the game itself by 15 times. It seems to me that the front line is not as hot as here. The cars jump like fleas. But look how high the FPS is. The minimum I saw was 33 frames, and of course, the number of lags increased significantly. But our processor is still holding on. I've been thinking for a long time how to load the CPU in this game, and suddenly I met her. A question for those who live in New York. Is she always with such a cheerful face? I also tried to destroy 100 motorcycles at the same time, but the migrating cars prevented me from doing it here as well. I also tried to do this, don't ask why, just an experiment for fun. The game between crashing time and time again threw me more and more fun challenges until I thought to slightly modify the characteristics of the bus in this game, and this is what happened. The cars crash into the bus and hang in the air. It's fun to watch. They all start humming wildly together and take off into the air. Friend, keep your eyes open in this anomalous and quite dangerous place. After some time, the cars just started exploding and immediately the traffic jam began to clear. I experimented several more times with such a traffic jam. Once, the game simply froze, and the second time, something very strange started. 3 frames per second. After that, I was simply kicked out of the game. You can't say that the CPU couldn't handle it because the game itself was broken. If it weren't for this trick with the bus, the CPU could have handled it. Let's move on to 2015 when GTA 5 was released on PC. And on such a powerful PC, you can play the vanilla version of this game from 150 to 190 FPS in 1080p. By the way, this game already uses 16 CPU threads, but not more. I checked. So I'll not enable underdeveloped cores. Take my word for it.
This don't make no sense.
I immediately put a mod to increase traffic in the game, and here, just like in GTA 4, we lost minus 20 FPS. But I want to note that there are even more cars than in GTA 4. I could put even more cars, but the game starts to crash if you put a 3 instead of a 2. Next, I tried to install the hyped Chaos mod with all kinds of tricks to find out which scene would have the lowest FPS. Of course, there were many tricks, and I just couldn't help but show them to you. Here, I just crashed into some invisible wall. I was launched into space more than once in this mod. Now it shows how I stupidly got stuck and can't leave. Now, they sneakily punctured my wheels. Do you think that'll stop me? You won't stop me so easily. I've learned to drive like this all my life. What is this on my hand? Watch where you're going, idiot. God, those screams are something. Do they scream like that in the original? Ooh, they gave me a new partner. Get in the car, let's go in search of adventure. If the game doesn't freeze, of course. Suddenly, the camera started to behave like in GTA Vice City. I think you remember when the high FPS was? I'm so tired. They decided to piss me off. After some time, something very strange started. The cars began to buzz unusually. Oh, cool wheelbarrow, thank you. The vehicle began to change its appearance in a strange way. My God, what is this? Aliens? So, enough of this trip. Let's show something normal. Who are you? Ah, I got it. And this again. Don't worry, I turned on immortality. The most you can scare me with is if you kick me out of the game. Oh, and this is something new. Franklin has clones. You can't let them survive or it'll be like in this movie. And after some time in my exciting journey, I finally met with a mode that really affects FPS well. It's called invert gravity. 55 FPS was the minimum. That's not enough. I need more. Or rather, less, I wanted to say. It's time to bring out the heavy artillery, graphics mods. I hope you can handle it. If not, I will sell you. I installed a whole bunch of graphics mods, and here's what we have. The FPS is 40 to 50 frames less. As you can see, the video card is underloaded, which means that all the load is now going to the CPU. And how cool GTA looks now if you run it in 6K. FPS is not playable, of course, but in this mode, the game in some places makes you nostalgic for places you've never been to. But that's not enough for me. Let's ride a bus now. But not an ordinary one, but one that weighs 900,000 tons and has a whole herd of horsepower under the hood. And at the same time, the whole transport will fly like crazy. Unfortunately, I did not find a mod that speeds up the game itself, but using a third-party program for acceleration, well, how can I tell you? This young man will say it better than me.
This don't make no sense.
The last reception for today, I placed more than 100 cars and about 60 pedestrians. I can't place more because the game is crashing. I think you already understand what will happen now. "61 FPS was the least, but now we can say with confidence that the processor survived. I don't have enough imagination to come up with a challenge that could load it even more in this game, so sell your kidney and buy yourself a top i9 if you want to play games without lag. Write in the comments which part of GTA you liked the most. I have a favorite part of GTA San Andreas.